This is going to be
For some, it's all they can think about, sex. But one question many people have is, why? Why is sex such an important desire for many people? Why do we actually have sex? Sure, there is
to procreate.
an obvious answer. It's necessary for procreation.
Yay.
Everyone knows that when a mommy and a daddy love each other very much, well, you know the rest. But for all sexually dimorphic creatures in the animal kingdom, having sex is the primary way to expand the population. Sure, there are some exceptions. Some sea creatures reproduce in non-contact ways, with the male fertilizing eggs after a female lays them. And human reproductive science has found ways around medical difficulties in conceiving, using technologies like in vitro fertilization to make babies possible for people without doing it the old-fashioned way. But for the most part, if people want to make a baby, or in the case of rabbits, lots of babies, they'd better get busy. For humans, having a baby is a pretty involved thing. 9 months of gestation and only one offspring at a time in the vast majority of cases. This is similar for many larger mammals, but for smaller mammals and other types of animals, it's common to have a lot more babies and much quicker. So it's not a surprise that humans take picking a partner for having a baby more seriously. It's a pretty big investment. But there are plenty of other reasons that
Yeah, damn well it's a big investment. And that's coming from a person that has 3 children. I pay for them though, so it's all good.
motivate people to have sex. For one thing, we might be physically wired to have the desire for sex. Our brain patterns are formed from countless generations of evolution, and we're born with certain instincts that lead us to natural behaviors. One of those behaviors is sex, and that influences a lot of other decisions we make. It's not hard to see why our brains are hardwired for this purpose. Keeping the species going is the ultimate natural instinct, and while there is no shortage of population now, it was a much bigger priority in ages past, when life expectancy was shorter and nature was filled with many more threats. And more often,
Oh, I bet back in the day was horrendous. So terrible. Like, there's a reason why there's so many laws now. Back then in the medieval times, or even before that, yeah, man, the things that people used to get away with, crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, good on us that we're living in a world that we can get rid of people that do mad stuff. But on the flip side, the world is all effed up anyway. Like, we already know what's going on right now.
offspring means more genetic variety in the population. But humans are complicated creatures, and there are many different things that motivate us. For one thing, sex feels really good. This is called body-centered sex, and it's the most basic reason that drives sexual attraction, and sometimes sexual addiction. Even without being concerned for the emotions of a partner, the feeling of sexual stimulation can be a powerful driving force. This triggers an effect called an orgasm that can be a powerful rush of pleasure and feel-good chemicals. This is why many people enjoy self-stimulation. It's an easy way to get this pleasure high without having to deal with the complex emotions of sexual relations.
Yeah, I guess that, but everything is in moderation. So say if you're watching porno and you're jacking yourself off, doing that multiple times is going to affect you. It's going to affect a man, not so much as a woman, but for a man, they end up being desensitized, sorry. As a man, it hurts you. Don't. But you can do whatever you want. But we're talk, don't, man. Get away from porn as much as you can. You got better things to do than that.
For many people, though, those complex emotions are still the main selling point. Sex is one of the most powerful connections someone can have with their partner, and having sex is an expression of trust and unity. Whether it's after a long relationship or after a whirlwind courtship, deciding to have sex with someone is often seen as a major step and a decision to commit to them. Before, during, and after.
Yeah, it's different now. Things have changed nowadays. It's not the same as it was years ago. Like, sex is just like giving out. Obviously, yeah, come on. Obviously, living in these times, like, yeah, come on. But yeah, it's not the same as it was that we hear in all these, like, what, films or whatever. But it is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is.
After the act, there's a feeling of becoming one and making a decision that'll set the tone for the rest of your time together. Some choose to wait until after marriage or engagement to make this step, but others find their own meaningful moment to take the jump, and that feeling can continue well after the first time. For those in a permanent or recurring relationship, having sex with someone they trust can be a stress reliever. If they've had a hard day at work and are worried about something, they might crave affection and close contact with their partner. Initiating sex might be a way to push.
Yeah, I'm like that. I'm definitely like that. As soon as I come back from work, yo, babe, yo.
Push the unpleasantness of the day away and instead focus on something familiar and calming. While the actual act of sex is enjoyable as always, these situations are often almost as much about the closeness with a partner. Of course, sometimes the heat cools, but the love doesn't. Sometimes, especially in long-term relationships, sex can be a matter of duty and familiarity. It's common for older couples, parents, and very busy two-career couples set aside regular time to have sex, often 1 day a week, but sometimes more infrequently. This is
well, right now, we got a newborn baby. What, he's 9 months now? Yeah, we hardly have sex anyway. Yeah, it hasn't really been happening, but it's fine. When it does, it gets on, but yeah, we don't F like rabbits as much as we did. But no, it's cool, so yeah, I agree with this.
is something to look forward to, but it's also a different kind of commitment. It's a way to reconnect and remind each other of how they feel about each other, even if it's not as often as it used to be. But what about those who haven't experienced it before? One of the most powerful motivators for having sex is, for some people, not having had it before. We've all seen the teen comedies where the kids scheme to lose their virginity, or in one case where a certain 40-year-old virgin does. This is often driven by the curiosity and other social factors. All they know is that sex is the greatest thing around and everyone's doing it but them. It's more about getting a prize and answering those questions than anything else. Oftentimes, that first time doesn't live up to the hype and can be confusing and awkward. But what would you expect? When's the last time you did something perfectly on the first try? But there are some less
perfectly on the first try? Nah, not really. Nah, not that I recall. Everything's a trial and tribulation, especially when it comes to sex. My first time sex, I didn't really know what I was doing. I don't think anyone knows what they're doing. They're learning from pornos, hearing the birds and the bees from your mum and dad, or whatever. But yeah, your first time is always crap. I'm speaking to the younger generation. If you're watching this video right now, just take time. You don't need to have sex as of yet. Do your education. What you're in right now, just build your education, build your grades or whatever, build a career. Everything will just set in stone. You don't need to focus on sex. Trust me. I was a kid once. Trust me. If I know the knowledge, what I know back then, yeah, different story. So take it from me. Do your career. Do your career, bro. All women, of course. But yeah. Education first, man.
Savory reasons that people might have sex. Tied into curiosity, one reason many people want to have sex for the first time is for social status. After all,
That's very true. They even depict it in films as well. Oh, you're a virgin, ha 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 ha. That happened at my school. That happened a lot. Oh, you haven't had sex yet? Oh, ha 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 ha. Yeah, it happens, man. People take this as a proper status thing. It is what it is.
All the cool kids are talking about having sex, the nerds are going to want to prove they can do it too. Some might try it a lot.
When I look back at it, it's just corny as F though. It's so corny. You're children, you're going to just talk just random stuff, but when you're an adult, it's just corny, man. I learn from that now.
And join in, but what might be more embarrassing than getting caught in a lie about this? So instead, those looking to join the cool kids just seek out every opportunity to have their first time, whether it's going to be a time to remember or a time they wish they could forget. Some reasons for having sex can be downright cruel. Jealousy has been a thing since the early days, and people have gone to extreme lengths over it. But some people use sex to try to create jealousy. Say a man has a crush on a woman, but she's not interested. Maybe he finds another woman to have a relationship with and tries to flaunt it around his real obsession to make her jealous. The sex might be enjoyable.
I ain't gonna lie, I think most men have done that. I love women, by the way.
But he's never really plugged into it or enjoying being with the woman he's with. It's all about ulterior motives. And some people use sex for cruel intentions. Having sex with someone is considered a sacred bond of trust by many people, and that makes it all the more shocking when someone uses it for revenge. We've all seen this happen on soap operas, usually ending with a dramatic slap to the face. Maybe someone has a fight with a teammate on the football team, so they decide to make him angry by putting the moves on his sister. Or maybe after a nasty breakup, a girl decides to make her ex-boyfriend sorry by sleeping with his best friend. Whatever the motivation, the odds are pretty strong that the sex won't lead to a healthy relationship in these cases.
Yeah, the amount of stories that I say on Instagram are the same thing. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But hey, we live in a world that people like to get back on things. Even revenge porn. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Of course, sometimes a healthy relationship isn't the goal. For some people, sex is just a stepping stone to another kind of success. It's a door into a relationship with someone who has something they want. This is common when someone from a lower socioeconomic class wants to climb the ladder. If they wind up marrying the boss's daughter, they might be in for a plum position at the company. Sometimes this can be combined with genuine attraction and turn into a healthy relationship, but more likely it'll wind up in a televised divorce proceeding on reality TV. Of course, for some people, the sex is truly all that matters. Sex addiction is when the sex drive or libido goes haywire and consumes a person's life. This is when the how, who, and why of sex doesn't really matter. Only the act does. People who struggle with sex addiction may just tire of their partner, but it often gets out of control, and they wind up patronizing prostitutes or getting into casual sexual encounters that potentially expose them to sexually transmitted.
Yeah, never me. I never thought of doing this. I probably did have a sex addiction back then. I say back then, but I say like many years ago now. Most men have though. So that's why I'm comfortable to say it. Most men have. I never paid for prostitutes. I don't need to. Never needed to. But I guess some people do, and that's your thing, innit? If you want to spend your money, then so be it. But I'm glad that I never went that route.
Diseases. When sex addiction gets bad enough, it can ruin relationships and jobs. The good news is, no matter why you're having sex, your body has reasons to celebrate. Did you know that having sex is actually exercise? Maybe this
That's very true. That is very, very true. Indeed.
shouldn't be a surprise, given how good it feels to lie down in bed and relax after a vigorous outing with your partner. It feels great, but you're exhausted, and there's a reason for that. Studies show that having sex raises your heart rate around the same level as a quick walk or riding your bike at a regular pace. This means that regular sex could play a role in keeping your body healthy, without the cost of a gym membership. And there are other possible health benefits for why your body craves sex. Having an orgasm creates a surge of hormones in your brain, particularly endorphins and oxytocin. These reduce pain and make it easier to relax, and that means it's a lot easier to fall asleep, especially if you're struggling with chronic pain or have a nagging headache. While this works in both men and women, studies show the effect is more dramatic in men. This means that having sex could be the key to a good night's sleep. But women have their own unique advantage. Studies show that women who have sex several times a week are less likely to develop heart disease compared to women who only have sex once a month or less. Why this is the case isn't clear. Some speculate that healthy women might just be more likely to have sex, but having sex is also heart-healthy exercise. So even if it's correlation rather than a cause, the heart...
And even, well, this goes to men, even the more sex you have, the less chances you're going to get prostate cancer. So, have sex, people. Of age, consent as well, consensual.
knows what it wants might have more than one meaning, and having sex regularly might even impact the brain. Studies done on people over 50 who had regular sex showed that they have an improved ability to remember number patterns and better math skills. While this
Well, I guess when I hit 50, I hope that's right.
effect was more significant in men, it was true in both genders, and indicated that sex might help to keep the brain fresh. Is sex helping to generate new brain cells? It's known that it's as much a mental activity as it is a physical one, and this seems to indicate that there could be long-term benefits for memory and mental skills. There's even evidence that sex might help keep you alive longer. One study on married women showed a minor link between having sex more often and living longer. While there's no way to prove this is a cause, there are many possible explanations. One might be that having regular sex is an indication that the marriage is healthy, active, and passionate, which could reduce stress and improve mental health. Another possibility could be that more healthy people are simply more likely to have sex. But the odds are this study made a lot of people go, hey, couldn't hurt. One thing's for sure, our bodies seem wired to want sex in more ways than one. It's been shown in studies that adults in committed relationships report less incidences of depression or mental health issues if they're having regular sex. This connection with their partner and the regular release of endorphins seems to have a positive effect on mental health. But this only works when a person has someone they trust to share that bond with. The stress of searching out unfamiliar partners might undo that benefit and actually add more stress. One thing seems clear, the reasons people have sex are a complex mix of physical, mental, and emotional issues combined with a hardwired instinct to seek opportunities to continue the species. I bet those rabbits in the meadows have less on their mind. For more on the process of sex, check out What Happens to Your Body When You're Having Sex, or watch What is Sexsomnia? Sleep Sex Disease, for a look at one of the most bizarre sex disorders.
Yeah, man. I'm going to look at them 2 videos in the next one. The Infographics show. Yeah, good video. I learned something new. All right. Wicked. Respect.